SpaceX, the company, rockets pushing boundaries. But what happens when all that bumps into something a little closer to home, like California's coastline and maybe Elon Musk's Twitter account?
Yeah, that's what's so interesting about all this.
That's what we're diving into today. It's
Great.
complicated how Elon Musk's actions, and not even the SpaceX stuff, are having real-world consequences for the company. Big consequences, actually.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating dilemma. We're talking tweets, political stances, even hurricane relief efforts.
Right, like when we talk about ripple effects.
Huge ripple effects.
Yeah.
And for a company as ambitious as SpaceX.
Exactly. And we're talking 50. 50 rocket launches denied. SpaceX wants to launch 50 rockets a year, every year, from Vandenberg Air Force Base. But the California Coastal Commission basically just said nope.
Which they can do, by the way.
Oh, for sure. But it's unusual, right? SpaceX usually gets its way, so what's different here?
It's more than just, environmental impact reports and all that, which is usually their main thing. This is different. The commission basically came right out and said they're worried about Elon Musk, about his behavior outside of SpaceX. They're saying his actions are a factor, like directly a factor in their decision-making.
Wow. So it's like they're saying, Elon, we love the rockets, but dude, your tweets, not so much.
Basically.
So what'd he do? What'd he tweet that has everyone so riled up?
Well, there's a few things, actually.
Wow.
A lot of it is from an article, it was in Politico. I think it was published just a few days ago, October 10th.
Okay.
So first, there's all the stuff with the election, the 2024 presidential election, just some tweets that raised eyebrows,
Okay.
Then there's this whole thing about him spreading misinformation about Hurricane Helene.
Misinformation about a hurricane. Like what? Was he saying we should nuke it? I'm kidding. But like, what was he saying?
It does seem a little out there, but according to the article anyway, he was sharing stuff that just wasn't accurate about like where it was going to hit, how bad it was going to be,
Oh, wow. Oh.
But here's the thing. While that was all going on, he's also making all these claims about giving out free Starlink internet to all the hurricane victims.
So wait, he's claiming to be this benevolent tech savior on the one hand, but then also potentially making a natural disaster worse?
Yeah.
Talk about mixed messages.
Yeah. And that's kind of what the commission picked up on, right? This irony. Like, how can we trust you or SpaceX when you're playing fast and loose with the truth during an emergency, when people need accurate information?
Yeah, you can't really trust a company if you don't trust the guy in charge, can you?
Especially one as big and important as SpaceX.
Exactly.
And that's what makes all this so complicated, so interesting, because that's where the commission's worries about Musk, about his behavior, all kind of intersect with their actual job, which is protecting California's coastline.
And they have a lot of power when it comes to that, right? Like they can actually do something.
Oh, they can. The article called them sharp-elbowed, like in how they defend the coast. And they've got a history of it.
Sharp-elbowed. I like that.
Right. They don't mess around.
So where does SpaceX fit into all of this? What were they asking for that got them into this whole mess?
So SpaceX, they wanted to really ramp things up at Vandenberg. More launches, way more. But the real problem wasn't even the number of launches. It was how they were trying to classify them.
Classify them? What does that even mean?
Okay, so they were launching from a military base.
Right.
Vandenberg Air Force Base. So they tried to argue that every single launch, they should all be classified as military activity. Which seems kind of irrelevant, right?
Yeah.
But that distinction, that's important because if it's military, it lets them bypass all these environmental regulations, even for launches that have nothing to do with the military.
Hold on. So they're saying because they're launching near a base, they can skip all the environmental rules.
Pretty much.
That seems, I don't know, convenient. What were they so worried about? What were they trying to avoid?
Well, for starters, they wouldn't need a separate environmental permit for every launch. And we're talking dozens of launches. It would streamline things, make it easier, faster, and of course, cheaper.
Makes sense. But I can see why that would worry people.
Oh, for sure.
Like, are we saying that any construction project, if it's near a military base, it doesn't need to care about the environment? That doesn't seem right.
Not at all.
What kind of environmental impact are we even talking about here? Launching 50 rockets a year? That can't be good, right?
It's not just like the immediate area, though. The commission, they were thinking about the bigger picture, like the whole ecosystem, the coast.
Yeah.
Launching that many rockets, it adds up.
Right. Makes sense. It's not just one rocket. It's the long game, the long-term effects. What were they most worried about?
So one thing was this bird, the snowy plover.
Okay.
It's this little bird, endangered, and it nests right around there, Vandenberg. And all the noise, the disruption, it could be really bad for them.
Wow. Like trying to raise a family next to I don't know, a rock concert every week. Except it's rockets.
Right.
Poor birds.
And then there's Jaloma Beach. It's close by, popular with surfers and all that. Imagine chilling on the beach, catching some waves, and suddenly it's evacuation time.
Yeah, because a rocket's about to launch.
Exact.
Talk about a buzzkill. So you've got endangered birds, beach evacuations, and just the overall environmental impact. The commission had plenty to think about, even without Elon Musk's, well, let's just say his unique communication style.
For sure. And to be fair to them, it wasn't just the environmental stuff. They were also asking about SpaceX, well, their employees.
Really? I hadn't heard that part. What about them?
So the article doesn't get into too much detail, but apparently some of the commissioners were a little concerned about, working conditions, potential labor violations, things like that.
Huh.
It wasn't the main focus or anything, but it definitely came up.
So it's like they're looking at SpaceX under a microscope. Like, hey, you need to prove you can be responsible on all fronts before we give you permission to launch 50 rockets a year.
Yeah, pretty much. And then on top of all that, the commission, they also said SpaceX wasn't giving them enough information about the environmental impact specifically. They basically said, we need more. Show us your work.
So it wasn't a hard no, more like not yet.
Exactly. They didn't rule it out completely. It's like, prove you've considered everything, that you're being careful and transparent. But here's the really interesting part. While the commission was saying no, there were some other pretty powerful voices saying yes, to SpaceX, I mean.
Oh, yeah. Who is on their side?
Well, a bunch of lawmakers, actually, from both parties, too. They sent a letter to the commission, officially supporting SpaceX's application. Their argument was that the launches were important for national security, for the economy, even for America's, global leadership in space.
Wow. So it's not just tree huggers versus tech bros. You've got national security, the economy, even international competition all mixed up in this.
Exactly. And that's what makes this such a fascinating case. It's like, how do you balance all these different interests, especially when technology is moving so fast?
Yeah.
And at the heart of it all, you've got Elon Musk.
Right, because with all this other stuff, the environmental concerns, the labor questions, even the politics, it still feels like Elon Musk himself might be the biggest problem SpaceX has right now.
It's hard to ignore, right?
Yeah.
Even the commission chair said it out loud. They were troubled by how he acts, by how he runs his companies.
Mm-hmm.
They said that.
Wow. That's pretty rare, a government official just straight up calling out a CEO like that.
I know, right?
It really shows you this isn't just about a couple of tweets or even a hurricane. They're worried about Musk's judgment, his leadership, the whole package.
And that's what makes you wonder.
Are they saying Elon Musk is too risky? That he's actually bad for business, at least in California?
It's definitely a sign that what he does, how he acts, it matters. It goes beyond him, beyond his own personal, whatever. And this decision, it could have a much bigger impact. It's not just about these 50 launches.
Right.
Think about it. If California is already hesitant because of Musk, what's to stop other states from feeling the same way? Other countries even.
Yeah. It's like once one group says no, everyone else starts to wonder, could this even affect his other companies, like Tesla or Neuralink?
It's possible, right? It's not just rockets anymore. Starlink, that's global. The Boring Company, transportation. Neuralink, that's AI. That's huge. And if his reputation starts to hurt those companies...
It's all connected.
Exactly.
And what about, he's hinted at running for office again?
Oh, right.
Could this hurt those chances?
It makes you wonder. We all know how important public image is in politics.
Yeah.
Imagine, a campaign ad. Just like one line. Elon Musk. Too reckless for California.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that would definitely make people think. But it also makes you wonder about something bigger. Like CEOs, they're everywhere now, right?
Yeah.
Big platforms, tons of followers. Should we care about what they do outside of work? Where do we draw the line?
That's the million-dollar question. There's no easy answer. Because you have a company like SpaceX. They're doing amazing things, literally pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Right.
But then you have the CEO, and, some people say he's reckless, irresponsible, even dangerous.
Yeah. So what do? Do you separate the company from the CEO? Can you even do that anymore?
And that's something to think about, right? Because this whole thing with SpaceX, with Elon Musk, it shows you just how complicated all this is. Technology, responsibility, the lines are definitely blurred. So yeah, next time you hear about SpaceX, about Elon Musk, about any big company, any big CEO, ask yourself, can we really separate the person from the company? Does it even matter?
It's a fascinating question and definitely something to keep in mind. That's all the time we have for today, but as always, thanks for joining us for another deep dive.